Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Anne. On today's tutorial, we are going to be making this gorgeous top. It's very quick and easy to make, and it's very beginner friendly. It works up really fast. You'll only need one ball of yarn and you're good to go. Anyway, let's get started. We are going to be using this brand of yarn. It's called Narco Elite Baby, and it recommends a 3.5 millimeter hook to a 4.5, but I'm going to be using a 2.5 millimeter hook. You'll also need tape measure and a pair of scissors. Take your yarn and make a slip stitch. After you've made a slip stitch, make a chain of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Make a chain of 40. I've made my chain of 40. You should ensure that your chain goes from the top of your bust up to below your bust. So for me, my chain measures up to 7 inches. Just put it against your body to get the exact measurement that you need. Chain 2, and on the second chain from the hook, make a half double crochet, and on the next stitch make a half double crochet, and on the next stitch make a half double crochet. Keep making half double crochets until you get to the end of your row. By the end of your first row, you should have a total number of 40 stitches. We are going to chain 2 to start off our second row. Turn your work, and we are going to be working back loop, half double crochet. So work your half double crochets in the back loops only. Repeat this until you get to the end of your row. We are at the end of our second row. We are going to chain 2 and turn our work. We are going to be repeating row 2 until we have 4 rows. I'll meet you guys when you're done with your 4 rows. We are done with our 4 rows. We are going to move on to our 5th row. Make a chain of 1, 2, turn your work. Before we move on, for this top, you need the measurement of your bust. So for me, my measurement are 32. So just take that measurement, you divide that by 2, 32 divide by 2, or whatever measurement you get, and use that measurement to make your top, just for reference. Anyway, make a chain of 2. Skip 1 stitch, we are decreasing our work. This is our first decrease. Skip 1 stitch, and in the next stitch, insert your hook, pull through, yarn over. In the next stitch, insert your hook, pull through, and we are going to decrease again. So we are going to make 2 half double crochet into 1 stitch. After that, you're going to keep making half double crochet stitches until you get to the end of your 5th row. Also, put a stitch marker on your decrease stitch so that you can remember where you placed your decrease. Keep making back loop half double crochets until you get to this point. I'll meet you guys there. We are at the end of our 5th row. We are going to chain 2 to move on to our 6th row. So on this row, we are making back loop half double crochets like usual. I'll meet you guys when you get to this point. We are back at this point where we placed our stitch marker. On this row, we are not doing any decrease. We are still on row 6. Just remove your stitch marker and make a normal half double crochet stitch. We are going to move on to row 7. We are going to chain 1, 2, and on this row 7, we are doing another decrease row. So skip one stitch. This is our first decrease, and in the next 2 stitches we are going to half double crochet those 2 stitches together, just like that. Put a stitch marker and keep making half double crochets until you get to the end of your row. We are at the end of our row 7, and remember we are only decreasing on one side of our work. So we are moving on to row 8. On this row 8, we are making back loop half double crochets, and we are not making any decreases. We are at the end of our row 8. We are going to move on to row 9. Chain 2, turn your work. We are decreasing again, so skip this one. That does count as our first decrease, and we are going to join 2 half double crochet stitches together, and that is our second decrease. Put a stitch marker on that stitch, and on this row 9, we are just going to keep making half double crochets until we get to the end of our row. We are at the end of our row 9. We're going to chain 2 and we're going to move on to row 10. On row 10, we are just making back loop half double crochets, and we are not decreasing. So just keep making back loop half double crochets until you get to this point right here. We are at the end of our row 10. We are back on the side of our decreases. Row 11, we're going to chain 2 and we're going to make decreases again. So skip one stitch, that is our first decrease, and half double crochet the next 2 stitches together, just like that. Put a stitch marker on this stitch after you've made your decrease. And keep making back loop half double crochets until you get to the end of your 11th row, and this is going to be our last row of decrease. We are at the end of row 11. We are going to move on to row 12. You're going to chain 2, then turn your work. On this row, we are just making back loop half double crochets with no decrease until we get to this point right here. We are back at row 12. This is our row 12 where we place our stitch marker. So from row 13 up to row 16, we are going to be making back loop half double crochets, and we are not decreasing. Once you get to row 16, cut off your yarn, and we are going to attach our work on this side. So this side of our work, we started our row with 40 stitches. So you should have 40 stitches as well. And from this side, we are going to start our row 17. So attach your work at this on that side. Make a slip stitch. Insert your hook. make a slip stitch as well, chain 1, and in the same stitch make a half double crochet. In the next stitch you're going to be making a back loop half double crochet, 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 and this is going to be our row 17. Repeat this until you get to the end of your row. I'll meet you guys there. We are at the end of our row 17. So from row 17, you're going to keep making back loop half double crochets until you get to row 35. We are not decreasing, we are just repeating the same thing we've done for row 17. So keep making back loop half double crochets until you get to row 35, and then I will meet you guys there. This is what we have. We have 35 rows. This is my 35th row. I'm starting on my row 37. So on this row 37, we are making back loop, half double crochets. Keep doing this until you get to the last stitch. I'll meet you guys when we are starting on row 38. We are at the end of our row 37. We are going to start row 38, and row 38 we are making decreases. So start by chaining 2. After you chain 2, you're going to skip 1 stitch. That's our first decrease. You're going to yarn over. In the next stitch, insert your hook, pull through. That's a half double crochet. You're not going to finish it. Yarn over. In the next stitch, insert your hook, pull through, and you're going to make this into 1 half double crochet. And that is going to count for our second decrease. Put your stitch marker where you made your decrease, and on this row you are just going to keep making back loop half double crochets until you get to the end of your row. And this row that we are doing decrease is our row 37. Yeah, I forgot to mention that it's not our row 38, it is our row 37. So on this row that we are doing decrease is row 37. So we are going to do that until you get to the end of your row. I'll meet you guys after that. We are on this row 38. On this row, we are just making normal half double crochets. And when we get to this point, we are not decreasing. So just make half double crochet until you get to the end of your row. We are done with our row 38. We are going to move on to our row 39. And remember, we are only making decreases on the top part of our work. So on this row 39, we are making a decrease row. So we are going to yarn over. We're going to skip our first stitch. That does count as a decrease. Insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, insert your hook in the next stitch, and then pull through, and that is going to be our second decrease. Put a stitch marker on that stitch, and for this row 39, we are just going to keep making half double crochets until you get to the end of our row, and then you start making row 40. On row 40, we are not decreasing, so just make normal half double crochet until you get to the end of your row, and I'll meet you guys when we are starting our row 41. We are going to start our row 41, and we are going to make decreases again. So make a chain of 1, 2. We are going to skip our first stitch, that's a decrease. Then we're going to yarn over in the next stitch, make a half double crochet, yarn over in the next stitch, make a half double crochet, and we're going to yarn over, pull through, and that is going to be our second decrease. And we're going to put a stitch marker on this stitch. After this is row 41. Keep making half double crochets until you get to the end of your row. When you get to the end of your row, start your new row, row 42, and we are just making half double crochets up to the end of our row. We are not doing any decrease. We are back at the top again. We are going to make our very last decrease, and this is going to be row 43. So you're going to chain 2, skip 1. That's our first decrease. Then yarn over in the next stitch, insert your hook, yarn over in the next stitch, insert your hook, and pull through. Remove your stitch markers. And we are just going to keep making back loop, half double crochets until you get to the end of your row 43. We are done with our row 43, and on this row you should ensure you have a total number of 32 stitches. So from row 44 up to row 48, you're just going to keep making back loop, half double crochet. It should be similar to this side. I'll meet you guys when you get to your last row, when you get to row 48. So you're just making 5 more rows. We are done with our 5 rows. In total, you should have 48 rows. So ensure your work stretches as much as possible. So take your tape measure. Mine measures up to 22, but it can stretch up to 29. For the next part, we are going to add this white yarn just to give it a bit of character. Take your yarn, make a slip stitch on top of our work. We are going to insert our hook, make a slip stitch, chain 1, and on this stitch we are going to be making 2 single crochet, and on every half double crochet stitch we are just going to be making 2 single crochets. This is just going to give our top some nice character, really. Repeat this until you get to the end of your row. We are at the end of our row. This is what you should have. Such a beautiful finish. So we are going to just chain 2 and cut off our yarn. Just make a chain that is around 150, and then you're going to lace it back on your top, and that's it really. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comment down below, and have a good day. Bye bye.